Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews, and today we are bringing you the latest chapter of My Hero Academia, which I believe is chapter 79, titled Throwing Steel Fists. So I was looking forward to this chapter. Apparently it hit late last night or late yesterday evening, but what I like to do is give it a little bit more time just in case translations need correcting or the scanlations have got it wrong. And often enough people tend to pick it out anyway after that. So like I said, I've left it, got the chance to review it today. Looks like the translations seem okay. I mean, they make sense, they don't seem nothing too out of the ordinary, so let's get into it. So a decent chapter, a battle on three fronts. Decisions are important. I guess it looks a little bit from the point of view of perception and attitudes, I guess, as well. There's a few different things going on, but we're going to get straight into it. 5-point review, an enjoyable chapter, 6 or 7 out of 10 for me. Let's get into the 5-point review. So, point number 1, the actual chapter is, like I was saying in the introduction, a battle on three fronts. So what I mean by that is you've got Shoji and Midori and Takuyomi, you've got Tetsu Kendo and the gas dude, and then you've got Bakugao, you've got Shuto and the guy that's escaped from prison, the guy who's doing life and his escape, the one that shoots stuff out of his mouth. So it's an interesting kind of different dynamics going on, and we explore all of these in the chapter. But the first thing we look at really is a little bit of interesting information, which, to be fair, in my own opinion, I thought was relatively straightforward. We thought you'd think that. So what I mean by this is Shoji explained now with everything going on, he lost an arm, which Midori got worried about. He goes, no, it's not that kind of thing. He goes, I lost a replicant arm, so I can clone my arms, which is, I thought, was pretty much the case of his idea. But what he later explains is when he creates a replicant arm, he can create a copy of that arm and kind of have it take its place. So it's good, I guess, for fooling people. And now initially when you look at this chapter and you see that at the beginning, the first thing I thought was, isn't that a bit obvious? But no, it's actually key for something that's going on later on. We also find out a little bit about Takuyomi saying that he was trying to keep itself under control, and basically the whole situation went all over the place because he lost his arm and he was fighting a villain and things like that. So that leads me on to point number 2, Takuyomi. So point number 2, Takuyomi, like we know, the darker it gets, the more powerful he gets, but the more out of control he gets. So since this whole thing started kicking off, he was trying to control himself, but the fact that they were told not to engage and then engage and getting attacked by an enemy, and Shoji losing an arm, apparently he lost control. He doesn't want to harm anyone because he still, even though he's holding back, he's saying, look, please get out of here, I'll take care of myself, save everybody else. So he is really trying. So you need a lot of will to kind of keep that beast tamed in those situations, and they know the weakness is the light. So I guess the idea and the challenge in this chapter was to get Takuyomi in a position where he could be subdued or kind of calm down. So they were thinking getting him in some type of fire or back to the safety of the station where they're at, home base basically, and they'll hopefully find a way. The problem was making the choice, which I'll touch on in another point really about that. But that's point number 2. Point number 3 covers, I guess, the battle where Tetsu and Kendo are against the gas dude. Now we find a little interesting point with the gas dude because of the gas himself and how he controls it. He has a better idea of people in that kind of a mist, what's going on because of movements, beds, stuff like that. So in that area, it kind of gives him more of a spatial awareness of enemies and movements and things of that nature. This is an interesting point in the chapter because it does a few different things. So for example, the point I made earlier on, the fact that he has to use a gun and wear a mask, it shows that he's not as formidable as he should be. I guess the technique and the skill, the quirk itself, is actually really dangerous, but the person himself doesn't seem to be, which is why he's using a gun. Now Tetsu initially struggles because he's having to hold his breath while doing all of this, and he's not really making his shots count. The guys know what he's doing, the shots are getting weaker and everything else. And it's also to bear in mind the fact that he can harden himself with steel or metal means that he was able to deflect the attack and he was fine. But the point was also made that you can't keep that up in this situation. Thankfully, in that situation, before he was severely damaged, was the fact that Kendo got involved, used a massive hand technique, and actually fanned out the air, which caught the enemy on off surprise. I guess it caught him off surprise, and he gets countered with the nice decent punch, which is always a good ending to any kind of fight. But it's a little bit disappointing that some of these villains aren't living up to the expectation I'd expect them to, being that they're part of the villain alliance, and there is a bit of a disparity, I guess, between the villains and the students at the moment. What's important to bear in mind is what I think the writers try to do with this is the fact that with them being that much of a difference, when the real strength comes out, the guy that basically All Might fought and struggled with comes out, you can see what a real villain is about. So it's an interesting dynamic to see the difference between, you know, the villains and the actual students, the heroes. But it'll be another kind of case when it shows you the real difference between these villains and the main villain, I guess. But that's point number 3. Point number 4 is interesting because it's to do with Shuto and Bakugao. So Bakugao is, for all intents and purposes, more of a tank type of fighter. He wants to go head first, get in there, do the business, do the damage, and get out. Whereas Shuto is more methodical, and he likes to think things through, keep his options open. So he would be a type of character that would be, out, in my opinion, kind of an espionage type of person, rather than someone in your face all the time, someone that would get you, trick you, or use some type of intelligence to get around the situation. So one of the things Bakugao says to him is, oh look, if I blow a tree up or I catch you on fire, just freeze it. But the point is that Shuto's making is, by doing all that, you're limiting your own possibilities. We're already in a limited situation. Why close off areas of maneuverability when you don't have to? Thankfully, this fight gets interrupted by Takuyomi, and we get to find out the decision Midoriya made for choice, and I explain that in the next point. So the last point, point 5, choice. The choice we get to see kind of throughout the actual chapter is for Midoriya is, does he say Bakugao, does he say Takuyomi? Now, what was good about this is the fact that he made a choice and he didn't favour anybody. He wanted to save both. So we found out throughout this chapter, if you look back at the earlier points, we know that Takuyomi needs to get somewhere light. We know that he reacts to sound. So we also know that Shoji can use replicant arms. So the idea was, let's save them both. Let's make the replicant arms for him to react to those, for him to follow those, to fight, to get him to where Bakugao is, and use that to our advantage. So by him getting there, he actually, it looks like he injures the enemy as well, which is always a plus point if in that kind of situation. So because he's got him there, he's been able to not choose one or the other. He chose both. He chose of an ingenious way to do that, and it's important for a main character that's meant to be likable. He's meant to be like, like everyone like him, to be a person that doesn't kind of pick one or favour one than the other. Bearing in mind, he could easily say, look, I choose Bakugao, I've known him the longest, but he didn't. He treats everyone fairly and gives everyone opportunity. At the same time, he values everyone. He doesn't put someone in front of the other, which is important because you need everybody, right? Everyone has to work together. You don't leave anyone behind. And everyone survives type of thing. So it's very good that he's done that. So a main character, it makes you like him more because he's making those tough decisions, but he's finding different ways of thinking to get around situations. Because like people always say, there's not always one or two ways to do things. Sometimes there's a third way that you may overlook. Sometimes you just need to think about it to get around things. So being that he's done that, it's an important thing for his development, but it also shows that he is the type of character we want as a main character. But in any case, an interesting chapter, a battle on 3 fronts, a tough decision, and hopefully this sets up a main battle versus this villain that's in the straitjacket. I'm interesting to see what happens all across the rest of the situations, I guess. But the students are coming together, and I'm hoping by the end of it we can get a little force together and take out these villains. So this arc is shaping up to be a good one. I hope you're here for the rest of the ride. I hope you like my review. If it's something you enjoyed, please leave me a thumbs up and leave it in the section below. If there's something you don't like, thumbs down, leave it in the section below. And above all else, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. I'll be forever grateful, and you'll get to see my content, because not only am I doing My Hero Academia, I'm doing a plethora of different manga series and anime hopefully as well. So look forward to that. Subscribe, you'll get more from me on a regular basis.